What is up, marketing besties? We are kicking off a brand new mini-series called Go-to-Market Plays, where we break down one go-to-market move in under 10 minutes. Real tactics, zero fluff, just the kind of stuff you actually use to launch smarter, grow faster, and win your market. And joining me for this whole series is someone who lives and breathes go-to-market, Tamara. She's an award-winning product marketer, former VP of product marketing at Kajabi, and one of the sharpest minds in the game. Let's get into it. Tamara, welcome to the Marketing Millennials.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. As you mentioned, it's so important to actually break marketing down into tangible little bits that we can execute. I've spent more than 10 years deep in the world of product marketing and go-to-market with both startups and scale-ups. And I keep seeing the same thing happening over and over, which is as marketers, we just overcomplicate everything. We spend months planning these big strategies. And because of that, we often miss the small bite-sized opportunities right in front of us. And so I love the idea of giving marketers simple, actionable plays that they can use, starting tomorrow in their job. And today, I think I'm pretty excited because we're going to kick off this series with one of my favorite underrated go-to-market moves, which is planting the seed before you launch your product.
A lot of marketers actually think that launch starts on launch day. But if there's one thing I've learned from Tamara and product marketers out there, the best launches don't start when you hit publish. They start months and months before.
Totally. And we're not talking about just the planning process internally, but if you actually wait until launch day to start building awareness with your audience, whether that's your existing customers or prospects, you're already behind, right? You're basically starting from zero. But if you start planting the right seeds early, and we're going to talk about a few ways you can do that, then on launch day, it almost feels inevitable. You have people waiting, you have people excited, and there's a lot of hype. So today, I want to break down for you what demand seeding is. I want to give you a few examples, specifically of Notion and Superhuman and how they used it to drive success. And then I want to give our listeners 3 things that they can do to implement it themselves. Does that sound good?
Yeah, let's get into it. So let's just start with the basics. When we talk about demand seeding, what does that actually mean?
It sounds overly fancy, but what I mean is for most of us, when we think about launching a product, we're launching it to a very cold audience. They have no idea that we're building this. They have no idea that we're launching this. Demand seeding is the opposite. Think about having a wait list of people who've already raised their hand. They're dying to try it. They're ready to give you their money. So it's really the art of creating anticipation, exclusivity, and curiosity. And there's a massive opportunity to educate along the way. And so if you think of the average launch, we kind of flip a switch and we're like, great, we're live, come and buy us now. The best go-to-market when you implement this kind of demand seeding is more of rolling thunder. I think I've talked to you about rolling thunder before. Mm-hmm. And it's this idea of okay, like a thunderstorm on the horizon, you hear a little bit of thunder coming in. And then as launch day gets closer, it gets louder and louder. Launch day, it's you're right in the storm, right? You have all your channels activated. And then after launch day, the storm keeps happening because the storm is now moving away. So it starts to kind of decrease again. So that's kind of the concept of demand seeding.
Yeah, I love that. And I also think that a lot of people wait way too long for that launch day and put so much expectation on one day. And this allows you to not put that expectation on just one day. There's a lot of moments in time that are before and after. So you're not only relying on that one launch. So this is not starting from zero on launch day, which a lot of people and a lot of brands, they just start from zero on launch day, no less, no anything.
That's exactly it. You're basically priming demand. And as you mentioned, because you have these mini touch points ahead of time, you can actually even start to have higher fidelity forecasts about what your launch results might be because you're testing engagement, you're testing value propositions, you're adjusting those throughout all of these micro moments during demand seeding.
I want to go into some examples, and you talked about one example you wanted to talk about at the beginning, and that's Notion. And Notion had one of the best pre-launch strategies with Notion AI. Can you walk us through what Notion did that was so awesome?
So demand seeding works not just for when you're launching like a company or a whole new product line, it can also be for like a feature set. And Notion is a great example of that. So when Notion launched Notion AI, they had a very, very smart waitlist strategy. So what they did was they basically engineered anticipation and they created a viral waitlist. So instead of letting people just sign up, what they did was they gamified access. So you would go to the landing page, you would sign up for the waitlist. That kind of gave you your spot in line. And it would literally even tell you on the waitlist landing page what spot you were. But if you referred others to also join the waitlist, so if I was like, Daniel, come join the waitlist for Notion AI. It looks awesome. Then I would get bumped up higher in the waitlist. And so I was incentivized to share with others, which meant there was a lot of like free word of mouth generated on social. People were talking about this. And so there's this idea of like built-in urgency and this idea of like FOMO, right? So I can see, wow, 100,000 people have signed up for the waitlist. It must be important. Like I must want to be on it as well. So as I mentioned, it turned into a bunch of free press for them, free word of mouth. And it worked because it tapped into like three powerful psychological drivers. The first one was scarcity, right? Not everyone gets it right away. And so if you want it, you need to earn it. The second one was social proof. As I mentioned, I could see like when I joined, I think I was like 122,000 on the wait list. So I was like, wow, if that many people are ahead of me, it must be good. And then this idea of gamification, as I mentioned, or like game mechanics, which is, wow, I'm not just sitting here like a sitting duck waiting for them to choose me. There's something I can do to get ahead. And so when Notion started opening up these waitlist spots, it felt like an event. People were like going crazy for it rather than just like a feature drop.
I also think two things that I would add to this Notion launches. I think when you do launches around things that are happening, like AI, that also brings a little bit of relevancy into this launch. Because I think relevancy plays a lot of parts of launches. If you can launch something around something that's happening in the world today. So I think Notion AI did that. And also, I don't know. I don't know the exact mechanics, but I bet Notion already has a lot of super fans that they tapped in to be on this list as well. And utilizing super fans also can help drive that those numbers up at the beginning. So I think those are two things that I would add. And I know we want to also get into another cool example, Superhuman.
Yeah.
And if you don't know Superhuman, it's the email app. But people could not wait to get into Superhuman. It was kind of crazy. I remember so many people trying to put in their email. They were begging to be a part of the Superhuman app or whatever you want to call it, software. So what was their go to market play, Superhuman?
Totally. So they also went with this idea of demand seeding, but they took a slightly different approach than Notion. So they really played on the idea of exclusivity. And this was a slightly different example because this was the launch of the whole company, not just the launch of a feature set. So that's why I like contrasting both of these. So they made people wait to get access, and not just wait, but they made people really, really, really want it. There was three components to this strategy. The first one was similar to Notion. They had an invite-only waitlist. There's over 275,000 people on the wait list, which is massive for like an email app. And it had a $30 price point. Got to think most people today use email for free, like a Gmail, but you got all these people to raise their hand to say, yeah, I want to pay and I'll wait to do it. The second thing though, that was really cool is for the waitlist, they didn't just open the doors. What they did was if it was your turn on the waitlist, they would offer you a 30-minute one-on-one onboarding call. And you had to go through this onboarding call to get off the wait list. And so this allowed them to, position their product, but it also meant that when your slot came, you really cared about capturing it. And they offered 100 spots a week. And so if you passed up your spot, like you weren't going to get another one. So it kind of felt like winning a golden ticket if you were selected to have your onboarding call.
And you know what is crazy about what you just said is that you had to do a 30-minute call. And a lot of people would think this is very counterintuitive that you have to put another barrier for someone to get in your product.
And this wasn't an enterprise product either, right? It was $30. So the reason they did it was they wanted to walk people through the actual value of the product. They wanted to collect feedback and almost onboard them on the call. And again, they were playing into exclusivity. This wasn't meant to scale. This was like meant to be the opposite of it, but it did work. The strategy turned into real revenue. So they launched this waitlist in 2020. And by 2021, they had $18 million in revenue. So I think it was a pretty smart move.
Yeah, it seems to work and people still seem to love the product. So it definitely they had a retention towards this because now people feel like they're early users of the product and they can claim they were early to the product. So I think that's pretty cool. But I want to know, what can marketers take away from these launches? Like, how do I take these strategies and apply them to my own launch if I'm going to launch a product today or a feature today?
Great question. So you don't need to work at a massive company like Notion or Superhuman to do demand seeding. There's basically 3 go-to-market moves we can steal from this play. The first one, and I feel like you teed me up for this one earlier, is find your true fans. Find those super fans. Don't wait for launch to get people excited. Tap into the people who are already excited about you today, whether that's existing customers or just people in the market who are stoked about what you're building. These early adopters desperately want your product before it even exists. So give them like behind the scenes access, ask for feedback like Superhuman did, and make them feel like insiders. So that's the first thing. Second thing is build in public. This has become a really popular trend now, but tease progress, share sneak peeks, and involve your audience, even the non-super fans, because when people feel connected to your story, they feel bought into the story, they're much more likely to engage with you and your product on launch day, right? Or like what we saw with Notion, even just spread the word for you. And then the third play, and I think this is a totally underrated play in B2B, is to play with scarcity and exclusivity. If everyone thinks that everything is available to everyone, it's boring. No one wants it. So you want to create a reason for people to want in early. Maybe they get some sort of VIP perks. Maybe they get access to something that everyone else wants. Whatever it is, you want to position that launch or that access like an opportunity, not just like a product launch.
Thank you, Tamara. Today we went over demand seeding. So this is one step in our go-to-market plays series. So if you're launching a product soon, don't just wait to build demand on the day of the product of the launch. Demand seed. Thank you, Tamara, for this episode. Thank you for coming with some actual actionable tips and actionable examples from people doing it. And until next week.
See you next time.
Thanks so much for listening. Keep tuning in to hear more great insights from the coolest marketers from around the world. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and follow the Marketing Millennials podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you like what you hear, I would greatly appreciate you giving us a 5-star rating. It helps bring more marketers into our community.